Kif left his dwelling places in the hills of the west, following the southern star, to wander in lands strange and distant, to seek visions and fresh enchantments. He knew not what had called him to journey to the land of summer, where the tower on the Tor stood proudly out over an ancient inland sea, whose western shore supported the watchstone of the western seaboard. He only knew that the urge to travel in pilgrimage to that place was irresistible to him. Far away from this ancient tower of God, the Isle of Frogs stood proudly on the horizon. This hollow hill marked the habitation of the king of the underworld, and here, according to the sagas, many valiant heroes of antiquity had struggled with their own shadow selves to gain access to the kingdom of Hyel and the palace of Tartarus that stood at the centre of that kingdom of darkness. Kif knew only that an instinct had arisen within him to answer some destiny that called him forth. The tower on the Tor stood watch over an enormous circular table of land that was famously known as the Avalon of Light, where ancient kings had ruled in glory long ago. Kif had made his camp in the lower orchards of the foothills beneath the Tor some days before the coincidence of the new moon and the vernal equinox, and so, in the dark of the moon, he burned sweet incense under the night stars, and intoned the chant of the sun at midnight in song beneath those ancient lights. During the first week of his habitation, at the setting of the sun over the western levels, beyond the watchstone of the western sea, which rose above the rolling oceans, Kif summoned the most noble of his jinn to come forth from the world of shades and accompany him. Dreamstealer was a genie of independent spirit, and one of the few of his kind able to command the privilege of choosing which wizard to whom he would serve as helpmeet. He was a genie of the smoke, and Kif kept a special recipe of herbs in his tobacco pouch, whose scent he knew Dreamstealer could not resist. This genie was a very special member of the confraternity of jinn. He did not envy the mortality of humans, and, like many other genies, limit the number of times he would respond to the wishes of his wizard. Also dissimilar to the practices of his orthodox brethren, Dreamstealer would refrain from employing the art of magic whenever he considered intelligence and the art of cunning wisdom might suffice. Whenever Kif wished to avail himself of the talents of his genie, whom he respected as a friend and equal, it was the delight of the wizard to behold the many unique and diverse solutions that Dreamstealer would bring to bear upon the matter in hand. As the orb of Jupiter glowed above the branches of two ancient twisted oaks which stood before his silken tent, the wizard sat before the low flames of his campfire and breathed in the sweet smoke of his burning herbs, waiting for the light from the orb where Dreamstealer had made his home to appear in the canopy of night's canvas. As the star of the jinn began to twinkle through the darkness, Kif felt the presence of the shadow entity make himself known beside him. "Hello again, Kif," the genie said. "Pass the pipe and be a good fellow. You know I can't resist that stuff." The ritual of smoke continued silently for a while before Dreamstealer broke the silence. "Ah, I adore the smoke of the fire, the burning and smouldering of resinous gums and barks, the taste of these sweet herbs. Your world is such a marvel." Kif raised a hand to gesture at the heavenly lamps. "And yet you dwell for the main in a domain of celestial beauty, amidst the shadows cast by the starlight. I envy you." "You would not like it there, my friend," the genie replied. "There is no smoke there." And at this Kif laughed. Dreamstealer was still for a moment. He gazed into the embers of the fire and sighed contentedly. "Now, where are we and what is our purpose here?" Kif shrugged. "I have, I think, been summoned here for some purpose higher than my own understanding." Warming his hands over the embers of the fire, he continued, "This place is the enchanted Avalon, where timeless orchards bear their apples under the glamour of a magic older than the hills and plains. Upon the Tor stands a tower that marks the meeting of many paths, both of this world and to and from the many worlds of the multiverse, past and present." Dreamstealer considered this revelation. A sacred place indeed. Certainly a place one might come to expect the unexpected, a place of adventure. Kif nodded sagely. The inhabitants of the town which lies beneath the tor are strengthened in number by pilgrims who have arrived here upon many diverse paths. Worshippers of the goddess are to be found alongside followers of the resurrected god. Adherents of the Buddha, Vishnu, Ganesh, Odin, Bran and Horus join the carnival of street life alongside the children of Keridwen, Isis, Breed, Freya and Arianrod. The merchants of this sacred isle trade in all known spiritual sacraments, elixirs and amulets. One of the stargazers here, renowned in the history of his art as one of the brightest practitioners, has in his keeping a psychic piglet that foretells the future. Another has a store of books whose pages are only made from the bark of the speaking trees of legend. You refer to this place as a sacred isle, Dreamstealer noted, and yet I behold no sea. Long ago, Kif replied, the lowland levels of this land lay beneath the depths of an inland sea. That was before the ancient men of law devised the land engineering to reclaim it from the ocean. It is the moon which governs the seas and waters of this world, and her influence still holds sway in the levels to the west, where men may still their minds to seek the kisses of the moon's silver light, to grace their dreams, bringing visions to guide them upon their path. Dreamstealer, being quick-witted and independent of mind, could see the magical logic of this. So, he said, the land of the golden apples of the sun sits amidst a dead sea, which undulates with the shadows of the clouds in the moonlight. It is the terrestrial sea of tranquility, Kif said in a hushed, respectful tone, where giant leaps forward are made in small steps. Dreamstealer kept his silence whilst Kif mused aloud. I have opened each of the gates that lead to this sacred land, and somewhere amongst these eternal orchards, or on the levels within the sea of tranquility, my angel, the angel of my very self, wanders in dream. Lucifer in paradise, Dreamstealer said, looking into the fire and laughing as he spoke. With a faraway look in his eye, Kif laughed too.